Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I was actually hoping to be jumping rope and recording this video outside, but it's been raining like crazy today, so we're gonna have to stay indoors again. And similar to the previous two videos, not only was I jumping rope here, but I was also using a Crossrope. In today's video, I will be using an 8'6" Crossrope from their Get Lean set. This is a 1/4 pound rope, and while this is not a paid sponsorship, Dave Hunt and his team over there at Crossrope have generously provided viewers of this channel with a 15% discount code. So if you're interested in trying out Crossropes or some of their gear, that link could be very helpful. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Crossrope. I've received questions from viewers recently, like, do you need a Crossrope? Do you need to use a more expensive jump rope? One thing which I think you'll find particularly interesting is the fact that I'm jumping rope on a hard surface. If you follow this channel for any length of time, you'll know that I tend to jump rope on surfaces that are widely available, and that is often a hard surface like concrete. So despite using a more expensive jump rope such as Crossrope, I will still stick to my usual kind of pattern and jump rope on concrete, or perhaps timber boards. But will I use a rubber mat? Let's talk about that in today's video. I'll also be wearing the Barefoot Minimalist Shoes Poluva, which you may have seen in previous videos there. I only got these very recently. I believe they were designed to mimic the barefoot walking experience. So the idea behind these shoes is to encourage people to walk in them, to get more of the barefoot walking experience, which has been proven to be very helpful for foot health, posture, strengthening the muscles of the legs, and several other benefits. So I'll be using them here. While they are made generally, I believe, for walking, I'm going to be using them for jumping rope because I love jumping rope, and I'll also be using them for other activities that I like to do, like hiking and perhaps even running as well. Okay, so as I said, I got the 8'6" Crossrope here, and if I step into the middle of the rope and I pull the handles horizontally, you can see they come up to about the base of my chest. So I'm 5'9", and I tend to jump rope with the rope that comes up to about the base of my chest. But I've also been experimenting recently with their 8-foot ropes too. So let's get started. I'm not going to do anything too crazy. Just nice to be out jumping rope again. Beginning here with the boxer skip. Staying nice and light on my feet. I'm not slamming my feet into the ground like this. I'm just staying nice and light on my feet, so not too much impact. And even though there's not much impact, several studies show that jumping rope or simply tapping your feet against the ground is fantastic for increasing bone density. So jumping rope, that's one reason it's such a fantastic activity, besides being a lot of fun, among other many health benefits that you can reap by doing it. So as I said, I'm using the 8'6" Crossrope here from their Get Lean set. And notice that I keep my elbows quite close to the sides of my body. My upper arms are touching the sides of my body. That's a personal preference. Some people like to keep their arms farther away. The one thing that happens when you keep your arms farther away from your body like so is that it can shorten the rope. So I keep my elbows close to the sides of my body here. There's quite a bit of slack. When you start moving your arms away from the sides of your body, the rope leaves the ground, so it shortens the rope. Not necessarily a bad thing, but the shorter the rope, the faster that rope will come around and rotate, forcing you to jump faster. Also, a lot of people, when they're new to jumping rope, they often complain of maybe shoulder fatigue, excess shoulder fatigue. And one reason for that is maybe keeping your arms too far away from your body, and as opposed to spinning the rope mostly with your wrists and maybe your forearms, they engage their shoulders to spin the rope. They spin the rope using their arms, and that's very fatiguing on your shoulders. So one thing you can do is try to keep your elbows relaxed next to the sides of your body. You can even tie a rope around your upper arms to keep them close to the sides of your body if necessary, if you find that you really suffer from a lot of shoulder fatigue. But of course, some shoulder fatigue or arm fatigue could be expected when you're new to jumping rope because your body's not accustomed to the activity. My forearms are nice and relaxed. I'm spinning the rope mostly using my wrists. I have my thumb on top of the handles, and the index finger also plays a strong part in spinning the rope. The other 3 fingers on your hands help to hold the rope in place for stability, but really the thumb and the index finger are very important when you're spinning the rope. And your forearm position. Some people like to keep their forearms a little higher like this, but as you can see there, what happens? The rope comes off the ground a little bit, so the rope will get shorter. If you lower your forearms, you create some slack in the rope. So I like to keep my forearms quite relaxed. Another thing to mention is, I'm not really gripping the handles tightly. Gripping the handles tightly can engage the forearms a lot, resulting in perhaps an unnecessary fatigue to your forearms. Gripping hard like that could also increase blood pressure. And when we're exercising, we want to just kind of stay loose, relax. So we don't want to grip the handles too tight. It's not necessary to spin the rope. By squeezing the handles, I can feel my forearms being engaged, my biceps, my triceps, and even my shoulders. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're experiencing shoulder fatigue. Are you just simply squeezing the handles too tightly? Speaking of the handles, these Crossrope handles, I understand why a lot of people like them. They actually feel great in the hand, and the design itself is pretty cool. Okay, so let's get jumping again. So these barefoot minimalist shoes, they're fantastic. I love jumping rope in a minimalist shoe. I used to jump rope in Nike Frees, and I will continue to do that. But because these are new, it's a new experience for me using these Palubas. But I'm really enjoying the experience so far. The sole of the foot provides enough cushioning and enough support to avoid any kind of abrasive material on the ground. But yet the sole is extremely flexible. You can really feel the bottom of your feet working. But if you're new to using minimalist shoes, you might not want to jump rope in them too much too soon. Give your feet time to get used to them. Perhaps you can just begin by walking in them. So, workout frequency. I received some questions recently about that, and also workout duration. When I started jumping rope several years ago, I was so keen to learn all the different jump rope tricks. I often jumped rope twice a day, sometimes even three times a day if it was the weekend. One problem though, sometimes when we're so keen, so eager to learn something, we do too much too soon. So if your body's not accustomed to an activity and all of a sudden you start doing a lot of it very regularly, it can cause your body to experience some pain. So it's often a good idea to just begin gradually increase how much you jump rope in any given day and how often you do it. And it's quite subjective. For some people, doing a few hops could be quite tiring. So you might want to not do too much too soon. If you're new to jumping rope, you could do maybe a couple hops or a couple minutes, and then maybe later on that day, if that session wasn't too hard, you could do another couple minutes. And if you're jumping rope for a very short duration, it's not placing too much impact on your body, you can do that more regularly. Doing an activity more regularly can help your brain and body learn the activity. But if you start doing a lot of intense moves, say double unders, and you're fairly new to them, you start doing too many of them too soon, you can place your body under undue stress. So really listen to your body. In terms of cardio though, a lot of studies show that it's a good idea to engage in moderate cardio for approximately 150 minutes per week. So 150 minutes per week. So you can spread that over several sessions. And jumping rope for a lot of people might be considered even more than a moderate level of cardio. So you might not need to do as much. One thing I love to do is, like, let's say if I'm jumping rope and I pick up the intensity, let's say I do a few double unders. One thing I like to do then is simply walk around. Stay moving. So I'm still doing cardio here, My heart rate is still elevated, and the fact that I'm walking though, it's going to make my heart rate drop down a little bit, but I'm still getting some cardiovascular benefits in. I haven't come to a complete stop. So oftentimes when I'm jumping rope, if I really pick up the intensity, afterwards I'll just walk around for a little bit, so I'm still moving, and then I'll start jumping rope again. So that's a nice way to add up those minutes of cardio. So it's a good idea to shoot for about 150 minutes of moderate cardio a week. It doesn't just have to be jumping rope. It could be walking, running, hiking, swimming. Jumping rope is a fantastic activity. So as I said, when I first started learning how to jump rope, I was so keen. I did so many sessions in one day. And then, as my jump rope workouts became more intense and I started jumping rope for longer durations, I tended to take more rest days. So the more intense sessions, the more rest days I often took. Not necessarily, but oftentimes. And then of course it depended on my schedule, my lifestyle, what else I had going on, what other activities, physical activities I was engaging in. Some weeks I jumped rope maybe only once a week on the weekends, but I may have had no time frame in mind. If I was having a lot of fun, I could spend hours outside jumping rope. Not necessarily jumping rope for a few hours straight, but as I said, coming to a stop, walking around, just relaxing, maybe looking out at the surroundings before continuing. So depending on what I had going on and depending on how intense the workout was, dictated how often I jumped rope. So I'm a big believer in randomness and I love spontaneity. So I like to go with the flow. If I'm enjoying something, I like to stay in the moment and continue doing the activity. Some days I might plan to do a particular activity, but I could do something else. But a good rule of thumb is cardio. You want to try to do it for, say, approximately 150 minutes of moderate cardio a week. And as well, don't neglect resistance training. You want to be doing some form of strength training once, 2 times, maybe even 3 times a week. So the boxer skip, I'll provide links below to this jump rope move. I have several tutorials on different boxer skips. It's a great move to learn because as opposed to what I'm doing right now, the 2-foot hop. This move, whilst it is the first move that a lot of people learn because you're jumping rope with both feet at the same time, both feet are landing on the ground at the same time, you're evenly distributing your body weight and both legs are doing an equal amount of work, but it can also be extremely tiring for the lower legs, your calf muscles. So whilst it is the first move that a lot of people learn, it is quite tiring. So learning other moves such as the boxer skip, like I'm doing so now, can be very helpful for skipping rope for longer periods of time. You could also learn other 2-foot hop moves like this, the side straddle, or the bell hop, jumping rope, the ski hop, jumping rope with your 2 feet together from side to side, or the bell hop, jumping forward and backwards. So those are variations of the basic 2-foot hop. But even just demonstrating those moves, I can notice my lower legs becoming quite fatigued, quite engaged, as well as the feet were being worked quite a lot. So it's a good idea once you start learning some basic 2-foot hops, it's a good idea to start learning like a basic boxer skip, because that will help you transition from using 2 legs to using mostly 1 leg at a time to jump. And when you do just 1 leg, it gives the other leg a momentary rest. Like so. So my weight is on my right foot. My left foot is getting a break. Now the left foot. And of course, you could also do the run in place, the jog. You could just do several hops on one foot, give my left leg a break here, and the left foot. Back to the other one. So even when you're doing the jog step, you can throw in a few extra hops on one leg. If that leg is feeling quite fresh, or the other one is feeling a little bit tired. And then of course you can learn, say, the basic boxer skip like so, weight on the back foot. Okay, you can do toe taps, another boxer skip move. You can do a type of can-can kick, like so. So I've got lots of boxer skip tutorial videos on my channel. Anyways, getting back to a topic that I mentioned at the outset of this video. A cross rope, a more expensive type of rope versus more basic ropes, such as PVC or licorice ropes, which I'm a big fan of. If you're new to jumping rope, it's often a good idea just to begin with a jump rope that doesn't cost a lot of money. So in my videos, I'm often using ropes that cost just a few dollars, and still I'm able to perform the most advanced types of jump rope moves like triple unders, triple under crossovers, triple under jump squats. So is it necessary to use a more expensive jump rope to first just jump rope? No. Is it necessary to use a more expensive jump rope to perform advanced tricks? No, it's not. If you look around online and you watch some of the best boxers from now or even in the past jump rope, they often use very basic PVC jump ropes. So no, it's not necessary to jump rope using something more expensive. But let's say you begin jumping rope with a PVC jump rope and then you want to experiment with something more expensive. That's definitely not a bad idea, especially if it makes you enjoy jumping rope. If it makes you want to do it more often and it makes you enjoy the process, that is awesome. So cross rope, I understand why people like the ropes. I'm new to them myself, but the handles that I mentioned earlier are very cool. They feel good in the hand, and the fact that they rotate so easily is pretty cool, so quietly. The ability to unattach and attach a rope, different rope lengths, different rope thicknesses, different rope weights, is a handy feature. And I know one reason cross ropes could be very appealing is simply because if you need to replace a jump rope, Crossrope is a massive company, so it's very easy to find replaceable cords. Whereas sometimes if you're using basic PVC ropes, maybe you find one that you really enjoy, but then it breaks, it snaps, and you want to try to find a replacement rope. You can't always find replacement ropes. For some of the PVC jump ropes I used to use, the companies, they only produce a certain amount, or I go to the store where I bought the rope from. If it wasn't available online, you go back there and maybe they don't have them available. So one thing with Crossrope, it's very easy. You have peace of mind knowing that it's very easy to get replacement cords. So that's one really cool feature of a Crossrope. And they also just, as I said, the handles feel good in the hand. The ropes, they rotate around nicely. The ball bearings are extremely smooth. The handles spin effortlessly, quietly. And just the fact that you can really easily attach and unattach ropes of different lengths, different thicknesses, different weights is a cool feature. And from what I've heard, the ropes themselves are very durable. And as you can see here, as I often do, I'm jumping rope on concrete. I'm not using a rubber mat. So if you're using a more expensive jump rope, it could be a good idea to use a rubber mat, because that will help protect the rope. That will help preserve the shelf life of that rope. But I'm going to stick to my regular pattern for now and jump rope on concrete, and we'll see how things go. I have a feeling this rope will prove quite durable. So the boxer skip. Do a few double unders. Okay. And you'll notice here when I'm doing these videos, I'm jumping rope, so I'm engaging in cardio, but I'm also talking at the same time. And one reason is because of how I breathe. I tend to inhale through my nose. And then when I speak, of course the words are coming out of my mouth. That's like the exhale. So I inhale, then I speak with my mouth. Inhale again through my nose. And that, I find, is quite comfortable. And breathing is a topic I've covered on this channel in many videos, and a book that I highly recommend and I've gifted to many people is called The Oxygen Advantage by Patrick McKeown. I have a link below down in the description to that book. And speaking of books, if you like reading, I wrote a jump rope related book. It was a real labor of love. I love writing it. And it's a book I would have loved to have read when I was a kid. And still, as an adult, I really enjoyed it. And I've got some great responses, feedback from adults who have read the book. So I just took a look outside there. It seems like the rain has stopped. So I'm going to finish up this jump rope session soon as I'm easing back into jumping rope. I don't want to do too much too soon. And I'll take a nice little bit of a cool down, a shakeout walk outside in these barefoot minimalist shoes. But before I do, I'll finish with some crisscrosses. Because I did notice at the end of the last jump rope session using the 8'6" rope, the rope got caught in my feet. In the past when I do crisscrosses, the rope really wouldn't get caught in my feet that much. And it could just be because I'm out of practice, maybe my timing is a little bit off. Or it might even mean that when I'm doing jump rope with a Crossrope, maybe the shorter rope might be more suitable for just basic jump rope moves and even jump rope tricks, because compared to a lot of basic PVC jump rope handles, the Crossrope handle is a little bit longer. A lot of PVC jump ropes, basic licorice ropes, the handles are quite short. So while the Crossrope handle is very cool, you'll notice it's probably a little bit longer than a basic PVC jump rope. And then of course you got the little loop here where you have the mechanism for attaching and unattaching the rope. That adds a little bit of length to the rope and perhaps a little bit of slack, which you might not necessarily have in a PVC jump rope that is even of the same length. So that's something I'm going to have to experiment with. And I will share this information with you guys as I gather. But so far, the handles feel great. My hands, the rope rotates nicely, it has a great sound to it. And just the fact that you can easily attach and unattach ropes is very cool. But maybe when I use cross ropes, maybe the shorter the rope will be better for just basic jumping as well as jump rope tricks. So I'll be experimenting a lot in the future, and I think you guys might enjoy that information too. So this is the 8'6" cross rope. I'm doing crisscrosses here. I'll have to look at the footage and see what it looks like and compare with using the 8-foot rope and see what feels better. And then of course I'll have to do other more advanced tricks, double unders, triple unders, that kind of thing. Well, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. So this is my third session jumping rope with this 1/4 pound, 8'6" Get Lean jump rope from Crossrope, and the bottom is showing very little wear. So as I tend to do, I jump rope on concrete, and I'll continue doing so. Is it advisable perhaps for everyone? Not necessarily. Not necessarily in the sense that if you want to preserve your rope, if you want your rope to last longer, it might be better to jump rope on a rubber mat. But is it necessary to jump rope on a rubber mat to protect your body? Not necessarily. Because the fact when you jump rope on a hard surface like concrete, for example, if you're using good technique, there really isn't too much impact. If you're not jumping too high off the ground, you're not hitting your feet too hard on the ground. And that said though, simply tapping your feet against the ground or the action of jumping up and down is fantastic for strengthening the bones in your legs, for example. So a rubber mat is maybe not necessary if you want to get the impact of the strengthening your bone density, but if you want to protect your rope, it could be advantageous. But because I always tend to jump rope on surfaces that are widely available, in this case concrete, and oftentimes it's concrete or it could be timber boards, I'll continue doing that. In the future, if I were using, say, a more expensive rope, just like this Crossrope, would I consider a rubber mat? possibly. But when I jump rope, I love jumping rope on what's available, and I love using space. So if I was outside right now, I'd be jumping a rope, moving around, making use of the space that's available. And it can be difficult to do that on rubber mats unless you have a bunch of mats together, or you're using like interlocking rubber mats, or perhaps you're jumping rope on, say, a massive sheet of carpet. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my third session using cross ropes, and my third jump rope session using these barefoot Paluva minimalist shoes. So the shoes are very cool. I believe they're really built for kind of just walking around to try to mimic the barefoot experience and get the benefits of walking barefoot, but with the added benefit of having a bit of protection on your feet. So this shoe, the sole of it is extremely flexible. And as you can see there, I'm moving my big toe up right there. You can move the toes, separate the toes a little bit, which is hard to do in a lot of minimalist shoes. Like, even though I love Nike Free minimalist shoes, with these Paluvas, there is the added kind of flexibility in the bottom of the sole. You're able to move your feet around a little bit more, and when you do walk and when you do jump, you can feel the muscles, the nerves, the bottom of your feet being used slightly in a different fashion. Okay, well, I really hope you enjoyed this video. See you guys again in the next one.